and friends and neighbors, or shall I say this afternoon.
Welcome back to the Steelers franchise on Madden 22. I'm your host, longtime listener. Be sure to drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and comment below. We are jumping back into the franchise here. To start the offseason, we look at the mock draft here. They've got us taking tight end Chris Pratt out of Texas. Not sure that that's likely to happen, but what we're going to do before we jump into free agency and some of that stuff is we're actually going to just look real quick at our roster. So actually, let's go an advance week and get to the beginning of free agency so that we kind of see who's out there that we might be interested in picking up and get a look at our roster to see who we kind of need. So we come into the roster and we know that we've got Grant Crawford at quarterback. I really wish that he had the star dev trait, but bottom line is he's still a pretty good quarterback. He's only 25 years old. We've got Dwayne Haskins backing him up, so we're solid at quarterback. At halfback, Benny Snell played really well for us last year, but he's 27 years old, and McFarland backing him up is 26 years old. Jamal Williams is gone, so we don't really have a power back on this team. So that is something that we're going to look to address either through free agency or in the draft. I would like to actually do it in the draft to see if we can get somebody young that can play and see if we can get better there. Now, fullback, Derek Watt's gone, so we've got to bring in somebody to replace him. We've got 5 wide receivers that I am happy with. With Deontay Johnson hitting 29 years old, he's still got a few years before he starts to regress, so we are locked and loaded at wide receiver. I am thrilled with what we've got there. I wouldn't mind having one more guy, so maybe we draft somebody late to just kind of fill out the roster, but we're solid there. At tight end, this is the year where I think we try to maybe make the jump and Freiermuth takes over the number 1 role ahead of Ebron, but bottom line is we've got 3 that are really good, so we don't need to do anything there. I am going to trade Levi Jackson. He's 25 years old. He is a star dev trait. Yeah, star dev trait, and he's already really good. The problem is he is injury prone, and it drives me bonkers. And we've got Okorafor, who is pretty good enough to play and start at this level, even though he's not going to be like dominant at that position. He's solid. So I think we can trade Jackson, try and get some value for him, whether it's moving up in the draft or doing whatever to try and improve our situation without, losing a lot at that position. I think it's a smart move. Dotson and Durant will continue to hold down left guard. At center, we are in good shape. Now, Peralta is also very injury prone, but with Green ahead of him, who's a little bit better and still, in his prime, we're going to continue to just, roll with those 2 guys for a while. I don't know what to do with Trey Turner. I think he's coming up on the last year of his contract. So let's take a look at that because he's 32. And yes, he's going to be in the last year of his contract. So this guy is not going to be the long-term answer. He'll be 28 next year and like mid-70s. We might be able to use him for a year or so, but we probably need to look and try and draft a guard sometime in the relatively near future, if not this year. Dan Moore is going to continue to hold it down at right tackle. He's not the greatest, but he's solid. And he did a good job there at that position this year for the most part. I like to roll out to the right, and a lot of times he managed to, allow me to do that, and that's all I need from him. TJ Watt is a beast. We need somebody to back him up, but it doesn't really matter because he's so good and continues to stay healthy that we'll be okay. We're good here with Monroe. Even McElroy is actually pretty solid for a 23-year-old, and with him as a backup, I could probably use him at backup for Watt as well, but we'll see what we want to do there. Quincy Shields has had some injury trouble, but he's really good and only 26 years old. And we're still pretty solid with his couple of backups here with O'Neal and Marvin Wilson, who's been an absolute steal at 26 years old. He just adds really good depth to this, that position, to where I don't think we need to do anything at defensive tackle right now. We got to do something here. Left outside linebacker is our probably second priority behind running back. But I will probably have to draft an outside linebacker first, unless there's an absolute stud at halfback. But we'll kind of have to take a look at that. So halfback and left outside linebacker are priorities. Middle linebacker, we're good, but we need another body to give us, some depth on the depth chart. We might be able to maybe like move Jacoby Stevens in there or something along those lines. We're good at right outside linebacker with McDonald in the mid to high 70s and only 23 years old. He's going to continue to get better and is pretty good in pass coverage. So I like what he brings to the table for us. It's the lack of Joe Schobert now that it kind of exposes that linebacker core this year. At corner, here's where it gets interesting. We've got Jackson and Sutton who are getting up there in age, but we got that Fountain of Youth perk locked in now to where they're going to continue to be pretty good for us for the foreseeable future, hopefully. But we need a fifth corner for sure. And it's probably something that we'll try and look to get in the second or third round of the draft, depending on what's there. There's Fitzpatrick. He's an absolute stud, only 28 years old. Norwood is a good backup, so we're really good there. And then Terrell Edmonds is only 28. He's playing really well. And then we've got Oscar Beal, who is a very good second option there at just 23 years old. That actually maybe frees up an opportunity to consider a trade with Edmonds if we want to give Beal the nod at that position. So that's something that we could maybe consider. When you've got two guys who are really good and one of them is nice and young and you want to kind of give them a shot, the trade can work out to your favor as long as you get value that helps you get better at another position right away. So that's what we've got going on there. Now let's just take a look at the free agent pool. We've got $60 million in cap room to work with. So hypothetically, I could bring in a halfback that fills the role that is vacated by Jamal Williams. But, I just don't see anybody here that really is the answer. I mean, Connor is 30 years old. I don't necessarily want to go and invest in a 30-year-old running back. Madison is a maybe because he's only 27. But he's wanting a 3-year deal, and the Chargers are already making a bid for him. So I think we're going to end up having to draft somebody here. Benny Snell he's good enough as a power style back that I can basically make him my primary back all the time and just use McFarland sparingly to kind of give him some rest and try and go find a third option that just gives us a little bit of depth. Now, fullback is interesting. I really like Alec Ingold, but he's 29 at this point in his career. I don't know if we want to go and bring him in for a year or two. I think we're just going to draft a fullback and hope that we get somebody who's pretty good right out of the gates. So we're going to look at fullbacks late in the draft, try and get somebody that's physically gifted who can help us. But we'll see what we get out of that. Tight end, we're good. Left tackle, we're good. Where was it that we needed to maybe look? So Trey Turner is getting up there, but he's good enough for another year that we don't need to do anything. Were there any positions on the offensive line where we needed a backup? I can't remember. We do need a left end to back up TJ Watt. Actually, it's showing me right there on the thing. So we've got two there, two there, two there. Yeah, we're good on the O-line. So we need a backup to TJ Watt. That guy right there could do the trick. But honestly, we only, we've got enough guys on the roster where I don't feel like we need to get crazy in free agency. I'm going to look for like one stud to pick up that makes us good right now, that like definitely makes an impact next year. And the position that I think makes sense is right here. We need an outside man, and look at, I'm not going to get Khalil Mack. He's 34 years old, and he's wanting $20 million. That just is not going to happen. So I think we need to go draft somebody. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Like, I'm looking for somebody. How about, no. 35 years old, just not going to get it done, guys. That doesn't do it for me. So, I think we needed a fifth corner, do we not? I don't know if we're going to be able to draft one, but I think what we're going to do as far as free agents is absolutely nothing and wait until the offseason. Let's actually go and let's do this. Let's look at the top 100, and we're looking for the young, like the best player that is under the age of 28. Let's see what we got here. So, okay, 26 years old, Trey Sermon, and he's got 16 offers. I don't need him, though, so that doesn't help. And now we're getting into, I don't need a right tackle, and he's got 17 offers. Another elusive back, I don't need. Yeah, I mean, we're just not going to find, it's not a really great free agent class in terms of, like, young studs that just didn't want to play for the team they were with anymore. There are some running backs out there, but they're all the elusive type, and I already have a couple of those. So we're not doing anything in free agency, which is kind of dangerous. But what we could do is get creative with some trades. So I'm going to mess around looking at kind of what's going on in the draft pool and figure out if there's any moves that we can make to try and get some studs in the draft or just trade for somebody straight up. And we'll see what happens here in the offseason. So give me a second, and let me see what we can figure out. All right, guys, so here's a trade that we are going to try and execute and see if the Bengals will take it. Basically, what I'm looking for is a early second-round draft pick because there are some guys that I think I want to try and get that I don't know I can get late in the second round. They need a left tackle, so I'm going to offer them Levi Jackson for their second round pick, which is the fourth pick of the round, and their backup right tackle. Please, please, please take this. Man, we're close. So let's go and throw in, like, let's go and throw in like a fifth rounder. Oh no, let's throw in the seventh rounder. See if they have enough interest in that. I doubt it. Oh man, it's so close. I don't have a sixth round pick, and I don't want to give up my fifth round pick because I'm afraid I might need it for a fullback. But we're going to try. Actually, let's go down to next year's sixth round and see if they take that. That might work. There we go. So that will help us in this year's draft. And I don't feel like we get that much worse at left tackle to where it hurts us this year. So that's trade number one. One more that we are going to consider is Terrell Edmonds. Now, he's been a good player for us, but we've got the rookie Beal, who's there and ready to fill that position. He's like an 80 overall already. So if I come here to strong safety, he's a 79 overall, and he's only 23, and he's a star dev trait. In fact, he might even be a superstar dev trait. No, he's a star. But either way, he's good enough that he can play right now. Terrell Edmonds is 28 years old. He's only 4 overall better. And I bet you he's coming up on the end of a contract. We're close to it. Unless we just re-signed him, but I don't know. Let's take a look. Yeah, he's in the last year of his contract, so it's a good opportunity for us to consider moving him. So let me play around with this, see if I can find a trade that I think makes sense, and then we'll jump right back in. All right, we've got one that we're going to try. I don't think they'll take it, but we're going to at least make the offer. So the Bills are looking for a strong safety because the best they've got is like a 62 overall. And they've got DeAndre Hughes, a 24-year-old right guard. He's already an 81 overall and a star dev trait. He's good in pass protection. The power rating is only a 74, which is not the greatest, but it's still decent. And if they will take this trade, that shores up our situation at right guard for a while to where, like, I'll just go ahead and trade away Trey Turner, and then we shuffle some more things along. So let's see if they take this and go from there. They do. All right, so now what that means is we no longer need our right guard of the future, and we have too many talented options at right guard. So we're going to come in, we're going to find old Trey Turner here, who's now 32 years old. He's not going to bring us a lot of value, but I'm going to get whatever I can for him, and then I think we're ready to go ahead and start looking into the draft. All right, so we found one that I'm hoping maybe the Cardinals will entertain. They have no right guards on their roster, and at middle linebacker, they've already got Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, who are both really good and still pretty young. So they don't really have a use for Ross Colbert at 23. He's a 75 overall and a star dev trait, just 1 year out of Oklahoma. So if they take this, I would be absolutely thrilled. But let's see if they are interested. They take it. Heck yeah! That is huge because now, oh my gosh, guys. Let's take a look at the old roster here. Because this is setting up to be a fantastic offseason for us, and we don't even need to do anything really in free agency yet. So if I look at our rosters, let's come in. Again, we're set at quarterback. At halfback, we need a power back. I'll show you what we've got in mind there in a second. We need a fullback. I'll show you what I have in mind there. Wide receiver, we're okay. We'll probably draft a wide receiver, but it'll be late in the draft if we do. Tight end, we're solid. On the offensive line, we will need a backup left tackle, so let me make note of that. But that's something we could probably do through free agency. We're good at guard. We're good at center. We're now in really good shape at right guard. We got better and younger, which is freaking awesome. At right tackle, we're still in good shape. I can move Babineau to left tackle. So let's go ahead and do that now. And now I don't need to draft anyone there or go find anyone. I mean, he's not the greatest, but again, if you're just a backup, I'm not super concerned. So, especially if the guy in front of you is not an injury liability, which we solved that problem by getting rid of Levi Jackson. I still need a second left end. Hypothetically, I could just move one of these guys over, but I'd like to get a little bit better here than a 62 for our fourth option. D-tackle, we're probably going to draft somebody. We'll show you that in a second. I still need a left outside linebacker, and I'll show you kind of what we have in mind there. So our top 3 picks are going to be key in this draft. We're good at middle linebacker for a while. We're good at right outside linebacker for a while. I could even move one of these guys to left outside linebacker and probably be completely satisfied with what we've got. So that's something to consider, but not necessarily perfect. I do need a 5th corner, so we might try and find somebody there in the draft. That's the one thing I don't really have a good answer for because it's not a really high priority. And then strong safety, we will need a backup there, so let me make note of that. Now, if we go into the draft, actually, what I want to do is go back into the trade center so that I can show you. I think I could see my draft picks on the roster, but we'll show you what I've got now coming into this draft. We've got the last pick in the first round, but then we have the 4th pick in the second round. So 2 picks pretty close together right around the end of the first round. And then we got 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th. So the 7th round pick is almost surely going to be a fullback. Hopefully it's the first fullback taken and the only fullback taken in the draft. And I'll show you who we're kind of thinking about there. But let's actually, yeah, I'll just go ahead and show you. The scouting combine and the pro day don't typically influence me too much, one versus the other. As long as I've seen one of them, I kind of have an idea what we're dealing with. Okay, so at halfback, the guy that I'm eyeballing is right here, Ben Richardson. Now, he's projected to go late first, early second. If he's there, we take him. With one of those first 2 picks, I imagine. The challenge is like you see what he's got here from a physicals perspective. He's pretty quick. He's got decent strength at 12th as far as the bench reps. And then the 40 or the shuttle time is decent. So he's got pretty good physicals. But then here I like what we see all across the board. B awareness, A special catching. He can run routes and he can catch it. So he's going to be a good receiving back from the looks of things. And he's got decent physical ability, so if he can catch it, he might be able to make some, moves after to make some big plays in the passing game. Now, he's not necessarily the perfect prototype from a power back, but he's a good player, and that's what we're ultimately looking for. Now, this guy here has some potential as well. He's not going to be the receiving type. This is going to be strictly a power back. He's 220 pounds. He's got B carrying. The ball carrier vision doesn't matter too much to me, but those bench reps tell me that this guy is going to be a bruiser. And at a 4.54, he's not slow, but this is a north and south type guy. Stick him in there, just run him right at somebody and hope that he can just run him over. And he's going to be there in the 2nd or 3rd round, so that's a possible option for us at halfback as well. Fullback, I like this Dennis Wright guy. I'll kind of show you why. We don't know a ton about him, but we do know that he's got B for run blocking, which is awesome. And C for pass blocking is decent as well. And then he's super strong. He's first in 4 of the 6 categories here, and a 5.03.40 time for a fullback is pretty much par for the course. There are some guys that run like a 4.7, something along those lines, but those are more of like the utility type, and that's not really what I'm looking for here. So I think this is a guy that we could get some value out of if we take him in the first round, or in especially in the 7th round, because he's got A awareness and B run blocking. That run block finesse is a little bit of a concern, being an F, but if he's around a 70, that's good enough for me for right now, especially if he's young, because he'll develop a little bit and give us what we're looking for. Wide receiver, I'm not really going to worry about, because we're just going to maybe take somebody late in the draft to give us some depth. Then we go all the way to left end. I'm not really sure what we're going to do here. We might pick somebody up in free agency, because we just need a depth guy. I don't know what's going to be there late in the draft, but we'll kind of consider that as a flyer, because it's not a critical situation, because we've got TJ Watt, we've got Zach Monroe, we've got one backup that's suitable if somebody gets injured, so I think we're okay for right now. Now, D tackle, there are 3 guys that I really like. All 3 of these guys I'm not really going to show you, because the hope is that one of them is there with that pick that is early in the 2nd round, because I'm thinking we're going to have to take that Richardson guy with our first pick, with the last pick of the 1st round, which basically means we can get one of these guys, and I think all 3 of them are going to be really good. So that's kind of why I'm looking at one of them. The only thing that's a potential curveball here is, we kind of still want to try and get an outside linebacker. We've got this guy right here, Burks, that's pretty good. And then Meeks is also a decent option. But also, this guy right here could be pretty darn good. So there are 3 options there at linebacker that hypothetically, if I can get one of them, I put him at left outside linebacker, solves that problem. If I don't get any of them, we move Highsmith over there and we just roll with it. So I'm not super concerned there. And then ultimately, like corner, I need somebody down the depth chart maybe, so we might even just go pick somebody up in free agency if I can't find someone in the draft. And then same thing with strong safety. Like, I don't think I'm going to go do anything in free agency right now. I'm going to wait and see what happens in the draft, and then any gaps that we've got in terms of depth, which is pretty much all we're looking for anyway, with the exception of left outside linebacker, then we would just go pick somebody up after the signing period and during the preseason, once everybody is basically just, if you want them, you got them kind of thing. And if we don't get a left outside linebacker in the draft, we move Highsmith over there, and we're still okay because those 3 between Bell, Highsmith, and McDonald are pretty solid. We've got Nick Morrow there as another option up the middle that we could hypothetically slide outside. So we're in good shape across the board. Now we're just basically looking to add depth and get a little bit better, deeper down the roster. All right, so now they've done the 4th mock draft now after the pro day, and what I want to show you is basically the situation as far as halfbacks, because that's what I'm thinking we might need to try and address first to get the guy that we want. So if we look all the way down, all we're looking for is what halfbacks come off the board. I also kind of want to look at the D tackles as well as, hang on. So we're looking for, whoa. Burks at outside linebacker, Hall at middle linebacker. There are several D tackles. It would be amazing if none of these guys come off the board. Okay, so Darius Lindsay is gone. He's one of the 3 D tackles that we were eyeballing. Sapp is one of the other ones. So now it's just Harvey. And there he goes, 25th. That sucks because all 3 of those guys looked like they were going to be really good. Not that we absolutely had to have one, but the fact that they're all gone kind of breaks my heart a little bit. We're still okay at defensive tackle, but that would have been, I think, a good steal for us. Now, what I like that I'm seeing, though, is the first halfback off the board is this Byron Herrick, and he's not a guy that we really wanted anyway. He's got decent physicals, but he's definitely not a strength guy. He's got good agility and quickness. We look at the skills, B injury, A special catch, so he's going to be pretty good, but he's very similar to that Richardson that I think is still going to be available when it comes our turn to pick. They've actually got us taking Gentry, who was the second option that we were considering as a back, and he's just the bruising type. But I think Richardson is the better selection, even though he's not a very good power back. We've got Benny Snell who can kind of fill that role, and this gives us now 3 dangerous options out of the backfield with Snell, McFarland, and a rookie that hypothetically could end up being really good for us. So we'll give that a shot and see what happens. Now, I'm not doing anything in free agency. Like we talked about already, basically, we're going to go through the draft and then fill gaps afterwards because we don't need any number 1 spots to be filled. And I didn't see any of the linebackers come off the board. Actually, let me double check that. I didn't see any of the ones that we were eyeballing. There was Burks and Hall, with Burks being an outside linebacker, Hall being a middle linebacker. But did I see any of them? There's Hall. So he goes 23rd. So, if I wanted to right here, I have to decide, basically, do I take the running back and then hope that Burks is still there with the 4th pick of the 2nd round? Because I'm not sure, without seeing a mock draft beyond the 1st round, it's kind of difficult to know that, which is frustrating, but I think we'll survive. Man, I really wanted one of those defensive tackles, though. I'll bet you all 3 of those guys are, star dev trait, We're going to look at that afterwards. But let's get ready for the draft and see how things go.
Who do they have?
All right, so it's time for the draft. And full disclosure, I got into the 4th round and accidentally simulated my pick. So the good news is getting through these first few rounds is going to be really quick because I already know who we're going to take. But I accidentally simulated it. They took a fullback, which I plan on taking a fullback, but I'm going to try and get a fullback in the last round, not the 4th round or whatever. So basically, in this first round, surprisingly, Burks was the outside linebacker that I thought was going to be there. He got snatched up, and then you think, oh, well, here's Doug Hall, who's a middle linebacker, who's projected as a 1st or 2nd rounder anyway. Why don't you just take him? But as I looked at the options that we had kind of highlighted, there's Tim Meeks right here. Outside linebacker out of Florida, 23 years old. We don't know any of the key ratings, but we look at physicals. This guy is really strong. The top end speed as far as his 40 time is not the greatest, but he does have good, like at least at the combine, he did pretty well in the cone drill and the shuttle time. So I feel like quickness is not going to be a huge issue for him. And then when we look at his skills, he's got A, awareness, A, play recognition, B, hit power. So the guy is probably going to be a force off the edge. And I think with that awareness and play recognition, he's going to be pretty good. So we draft him, obviously, and boom, hidden dev trait. So right off the bat, we took a chance, hoping that this guy would be kind of like a low to mid 70s overall and give us the hidden dev trait because of his raw strength and the awareness, and it pays off as we hit the jackpot with the hidden dev trait. Then we skip forward a few picks. We've got the 4th pick in the 2nd round here because of the trade with Levi Jackson, I believe it was. And we looked at the running backs. Bottom line is, I think Brian Gentry is way too one-dimensional. He's just a guy that can run people over, but he has no agility. He can't catch passes. He's got very limited awareness and everything. So we looked at Ben Richardson. His physicals are pretty good across the board. Nothing there that like jumps off the page as being really good or really bad. But he's pretty much above average at everything. He's got B awareness. His pass catching and route running are all very good. The only thing that worries me is the C for carrying. But if he's a guy that we're just using really as a pass catcher anyway, I'm not that worried about it. So I think we got a good pick here. I wish we had a hidden dev trait, obviously, but you always wish you had a hidden dev trait. I just don't think that what's his name, Gentry, was going to be all that useful for us long term. So eventually what will happen is if Benny Snell starts to drop off in terms of his elusiveness, we'll make him the power back, and maybe by that time Richardson's ready to step into the role as the everyday elusive / pass catching back. So, all right. So 2nd round, last pick of the 2nd round. This one here is an absolute steal. We looked at a few different positions, but ultimately decided to go with the defensive tackle. And this guy right here, George Russell out of Tennessee. B, block shedding. D, power moves. He's 23 years old, and he's only 296 pounds, which is not quite as big as I would want up the middle. But look at this right here. 1st in the 40 time, 2nd in the cone drill, 2nd in the shuttle, and he did 33 bench reps. So he's got some strength despite his little bit of lack of size. And then at the skills, he's got A, play recognition, B, block shedding. We don't know what his finesse moves are, but this is a guy that I thought would end up being pretty good right off the bat and hopefully give us a hidden dev trait, and we struck gold again. The 87 strength is a little bit lower than I'd like at defensive tackle, but I think this guy could be a really good change of pace, especially if like Quincy Shields comes out of the game and he's just a big, hefty guy clogging up lanes. This guy could be more of a pass rusher type, so we'll see what we get out of him. All right. Moving ahead, I think we had one more pick before we screwed up. And yeah, so we ended up taking a corner here with this selection. And it is Roman Dockery. He's projected as a 3rd or 4th rounder. It's the last pick of the 3rd round anyway. So it's kind of about the point where he's projected to get taken. He's got B catching, C for man coverage, D for zone coverage, which aren't the greatest, but his physicals are hard to ignore. He's top 5 in everything, both combine and pro day. So the guy is an athlete. He just needs to learn to play the position. He can catch. He's got great stamina. He's a decent tackler. If this guy just gets a little bit of awareness and figures out what his job is and can do it, he's got the physical skills to be a really good player. Now, we didn't get the hidden dev trait that I was really hoping for with those kind of physicals, but with his kind of athleticism, he could easily, get a breakout scenario and unlock the star dev trait anyway. So, all right, now we are headed for the last pick of the 4th round. And basically, we have to decide here what we want to do position-wise. We kind of need a depth wide receiver. We kind of need a depth defensive end. Let's see what's here. Sprinkle. If you're still there in the 4th round and you're projected 1st or 2nd, there's some kind of defect that makes you, scary to a bunch of people. He's got pretty good speed and athleticism. What's the deal here? I bet you just can't run routes. Yeah, see, I just don't know enough about him here to make a pick. I like his speed and athleticism, honestly. But there's something up with this guy. Maybe we'll see if he's there in the next round and can get him. But let's look a couple more down the board here just to see if there's anybody we like. F for catching traffic. No top end speed. The agility's not the greatest. Can't run short routes. I'm going to say no on that one. What about Nick Short? So out of Fresno State, we've got him fairly well scouted. Can't catch in traffic. Doesn't get a very good release. He's got great speed, great shuttle time. He can run block. He's injury prone. But see, D release, I kind of like Sprinkle or whatever the dude's name was a little bit better. So what I might do is just wait till next round and see if either of those guys are there and take a chance that they're a decent guy. Maybe even it's just like a kick returner and a emergency option at wideout. All right, let's look for a backup defensive end. Matt Jackson, you're a day 3 guy. D finesse moves, C tackling. Whoa. He's 291 pounds. That's not the kind of prototype that we want. Let's look at Kalen Judge, because we're looking for a speed rusher kind of off the edge. C tackling. He's got very good speed and quickness. Strength was not that great at the combine, but he beefed up at the pro day to get into the top 10. Hit power, stamina, pursuit. So all B's and C's. Not fantastic, but again, this is just a backup, so we'll see what we can get. Let's look one more down here, Quincy Graham. So Quincy, we already got Quincy Shields. He can't shed a block. He doesn't have power moves. He's got B for finesse moves. And he's got very good speed and athleticism. So I like that speed along with the finesse moves. As a pass rusher, backup option coming off the edge, you're my guy.
The Chargers up now. They're on the clock.
Well, we'll see what we get out of that one. this far in the draft, you're just kind of hoping that you get lucky and get a hidden dev trait because it's a crapshoot. All right, we got to get a wide receiver and we got to get a fullback. So we've got 2 picks left, a 5th round and a 7th round. We're taking a wide receiver right here. It's just a matter of which one. If Sprinkle or whatever the dude's name is still there, we'll just take him. Did we look at this guy? Hang on. Oh, we looked at Short. We looked at Smiley too. Yeah, let's just take this Sprinkle. If I remember correctly, he had pretty good speed. Yeah, I think this is our guy. He's only 5'11", so he's not like a fantastic prospect, but the experts might say I got pretty good value with that pick, seeing how he was supposed to go early and fell all the way to the last pick of the 5th round. Now we will skip ahead to the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, and it's going to be a fullback, and I'm hoping that Wright is still there. I don't remember his first name, but if no other fullbacks have been taken, he's going to be our guy, and I'm thinking that he's going to be a pretty good run blocker. So, fullback, Dennis Wright. I'm not even going to look at anything here. Just know that this is going to be our guy as our fullback this year. He's going to be the starter, hoping that he's like low 70s and just a good run blocking type. Normal dev trait, not surprised. It's very rare to find a fullback with a hidden dev trait. Would have been awesome. But let's see what we got. Let's get a recap here. We'll go and look at our team first, obviously, and then we'll look around the league at who we might have missed on, hypothetically. So Meeks is a 72 overall, and was he a hidden dev trait? I think he was. Yes. So he was a hidden dev trait. Richardson is a 71. He's not a hidden dev trait, but he's a 71 both receiving and elusive, so that's pretty good. Russell is a 72 hidden dev trait, and that's the last pick of the 2nd round. That's not a bad pick, honestly. Dockery, 69 overall. Graham, 67. Sprinkle, 66. And Wright is a 71. So he's our 2nd best overall, or 3rd best, I guess. Tied for 3rd best. And we got him in the 7th round. So that's what we got. Now let's look around the league. So, wow, look at this dude. 80. Right out of Auburn. And Washington gets a pretty polished corner right there. Good left tackle, good left end. Raiders get a pretty good wide receiver. Another good corner. How about 80 at free safety? Another good corner. I want to look at these D tackles that I was hoping to get. There were 3 of them. Lindsey was one. He's a 78. Is he a hidden dev trait? No. He is not. And he was 2nd on my list behind Sapp. So let's look for Sapp. I want to see Burks. Burks is a 73 overall. This is the guy that we wanted, and dang it, he's a hidden dev trait. Now, he's more of a speed rusher type, not really that great in pass coverage. So I'm actually kind of okay with what we ended up with there, honestly. I think the guy we have is a little bit more polished, although Burks is going to be really good eventually. Harvey is the other D tackle that we were looking at. Hidden dev trait, 74 overall. And then Sapp, this is the one that we really wanted. He's a 75 overall, but a normal dev trait. So we would have missed on that one, although that's still a pretty good pick. How about this guy? 77 overall and a hidden dev trait. Dang. I don't know that I really gave him a ton of opportunity as my guy because he's not a power back, but I moved away from that, must-have. So Meeks at 72 and a hidden dev trait, I feel like that's a pretty good pick. And then there's Hall that we passed on, and he's a 70 overall, but a normal dev trait. So we hit the jackpot on that one. Then we got Richardson. Who could we have had instead? What was the dude's name? Gentry? Where's Gentry? 69, but a hidden dev trait. But a 49 as a receiving back. I mean, this is the definition of one-dimensional, and he's not getting any playing time for a while. So I think we did okay there. Let's just look a little bit farther down here. Arnett, power back, 76? How did we miss this guy? And a hidden dev trait? Dang it! Oh, we blew that one. I looked at him. I remember looking at a couple of running backs out of Tennessee. Dang it. There's Russell. That was a really good pick at the end of the second round, I feel like. What other steals are there? A couple of strong safeties there that were pretty good. 73, 74's in there. All right, good enough. So there were a couple of misses. There were a couple of ones that we hit on. Ultimately, I'm pretty happy with this draft class. Anytime you end up getting a couple of hidden dev traits, especially high up in the draft, where they're, not necessarily starters right away, but close, you're doing okay. All right, let's go ahead and advance. This will bring us into the preseason, and we still have a few spots on the roster that I think we need to just go pick up free agents as backups. So we'll take a look at that briefly here. Knock that out, and then we will be done for this episode, I believe. So let's go NFL rosters. Hang on a second. All right. So QB, good. Halfback, good. Fullback, good. Wide receiver, good. Tight end, we're good. Good at left tackle, guard, center, right guard, right tackle, left end, right end. D tackle, we are loaded now and still pretty young. So left outside linebacker, what did we do here? It's going to be one of these guys is going to have to move to the left side. Let's go with Meeks. That way I can start McDonald over here, and we stay with the younger guy who's just as good as Highsmith, arguably, and we get Meeks some reps when we're in the 4-3. So he's not the greatest in pass coverage, so he's going to need to get a little bit better there, but he's pretty good stopping the run. Hang on a second. I think I might have pulled out a miracle victory in fantasy football. No, it's not over yet. Never mind. All right, so this... Oh. Move him to left outside linebacker instead of right. That solves that situation. We're not the greatest there, but he's all right. And then corner, we are solid. Dockery as a 70 overall rookie. I think he was technically a 60, but getting some boosts apparently. Free safety, we're solid. Strong safety, I still need to get a backup strong safety. So that's the only thing that we need to do in free agency. And we have a ton of room in the cap. Now, we are really young to where some of these guys are going to get to where we've got to pay them. So that's going to be an issue. but let's come find us a backup strong safety and see if there's any other steals on the free agent market, just out of curiosity. So strong safety, let's go with Grayland Arnold, 27 years old, 72 overall. He's the best option under 30, so we'll get him. So sign him, and then let's just take another little gander here at the top rated players. Obviously, there's usually a bunch of kickers and punters at the top. We're not interested in those. We don't need any corners. Left end, wide receiver. Kenneth Gainwell, but he's an elusive style. I don't need that. Yeah, there's nothing else here that really stands out. I could upgrade at fullback, but then the guy that I just drafted gets no chance to develop. I think we're going to just rock this lineup. Guys, we are ready to jump into the preseason. In fact, let me see how we're doing on time, and we might just get through it in this episode. Yeah, we're doing okay on time, so we're going to go ahead and just zip through the preseason here and get ready for regular season action by the time we start the next episode. We've got to sign some scouts. I'm not sure that it's going to matter too much who we've got. Now, I do want a wide receiver scout. We don't need a halfback scout anymore. I feel like we're okay there, so let's get rid of him. In fact, we're going to get rid of this wideout tier 1 guy because I don't feel like we need that anymore. Where are we weak? Definitely not middle linebacker. We've got 3 of them now, and we're pretty good there. So let's just clean house. Start over. Let's go into free agent scouts. Sort by tier. So tier 3, we have good safeties. We're okay. Quarterback, we're good. I might. Should we try and go find a rockstar wideout? We've got 3 that are pretty good, although they are starting to get up there in age a little bit. Maybe tight end. We've got Devin Bush at linebacker. We could maybe look at guards, because at left guard, Dotson is starting to get up there a little bit. So let's maybe do that. Alan Faneca, I like it. Let's bring him in as our tier 3 scout. Now, tier 2, we're going to get a wide receiver guy going. Let's see if we can't find a stud wide receiver this year. And now down to tier 1. I don't think this is going to matter too much at this point. Let's go tight end, corner, and what else? Excuse me. How about, let's go, jeez. We're getting to the point where, like, I feel really good where we're at in pretty much every position. It's crazy. Let's go, man, I kind of want to, no, we're good at D-tackle now, too. Let's look at linebackers. Why not? I love middle linebackers. I'm a sucker for them. All right, so now let's go here, and we're going to assign Faneca as our national scout, because guard is our priority, I think, to replace Dotson is the goal there. Not that he's, like, old, but he's getting there. So Reggie Wayne is our, let's go southeast maybe with him. Get me a SEC wideout. Tight end, we're going to go northeast. Corner, we're going to go west. And middle linebacker, we'll go central. Boom. Good enough. That's that. And I think now it's basically just a matter of simming through games here, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be pretty monotonous. I will just set everything up, sim the game, show you the results, and then do the same thing and just cut out all the stuff where you're just watching me set strategy and all that garbage. So week 1 of the preseason, we take on the Rams, and we put up 41 points, beat them 41-30. Obviously, we like seeing that many points scored, but the defense was perhaps a little bit porous, giving up 31 points. Let's see kind of how things went down here. Grant Crawford was awesome, although he only threw the ball 4 times, 3 for 4, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Dwayne Haskins, 20 for 31, 299, 4 TDs, and an interception. They've got Stan Hunter, third-year QB out of Washington State, did 1 pass for 14 yards. Don't really care about. How about Tua? Now the backup there in LA. McFarland, 15 carries, 54 yards. Benny Snell, very limited action. Ben Richardson didn't do much. So we didn't run the ball very well. Holy crap, Juju. 7 catches, 206 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's insane. Josh Little, remember this guy? They were trying to get us to draft this dude a few years ago. How about 6 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown? I didn't think he was going to turn into much, but maybe I was wrong. Garrison Farr, a nice day. 7 catches, 80 yards. Defensively, our leading tackler. Oh, wait. I was like, what? Leading tackler, Devin Bush and Ross Colbert, who I think is going to be a nice pickup for us in that trade that we managed to pull off in the offseason. TJ Watt had a sack. That was the only one for us. In the interceptions, there was 1, wasn't actually, wow, 4 of them. So we had 3, Colbert, Sutton, and Lane, and then Channing Middlebrooks, a rookie-free safety, picks 1 up for them. So a win's a win. You know, the preseason doesn't mean too much, but, you know, it's always good to pick up victories. Everybody's a competitor. You want to go out there and execute no matter who's on the field. So it's a win in week 1 of the preseason. We'll jump ahead through the Washington game, and we'll give you an update on that one in a second. All right, week 2, we pick up another win. We beat the Washington football team 38-17. So putting up a bunch of points again in this one. So let's get a look at the box score here and see exactly how things unfolded here. Dwayne Haskins was really good again. Grant Crawford was picked off, which is not ideal. Josh Rosen led their team in terms of his passing efforts. 8 of 16 for Crawford. Actually, no, 8 of 17. He was sacked once, picked off once. So Haskins, though, looking really good through his first 2 outings of the season. He's been pretty impressive. Trey Boone, nice day for them on the ground. Benny Snell was okay. McFarland was okay. Where's my boy? Where's what the heck? Where's our dude Richardson or whatever his name is? Whatever. Freiermuth had a nice day. We moved him up ahead of Ebron as well as Moreau. We had some good numbers there through the air, so I'm pretty happy with how things went offensively. Defensively, let's take a look at leading tackler Zach Monroe, who had 3 sacks on the day. So he had a very good outing. Quincy Graham, the rookie, got him a sack as well. And then rookie George Russell combines with TJ Watt for a sack. So a bunch of sacks in this one. Interception was Kendall Fuller. So Grant Crawford has been okay, but not great so far. But again, it's the preseason. He's getting limited reps, so not too concerned at this point. Now we've got a mentorship scenario here. It's Garrison Farr. Help him get open. So that's what we want to work on here, and let's help him get good at short routes, because if I use him for anything, it's probably going to be the underneath stuff. He's quick and shifty, so I'm kind of hoping that he eventually turns into a decent slot receiver. And now, what else? I think we're good to get through the next one, and we'll jump back in here in a second. All right, and in Game 3 of the preseason, it is a Super Bowl rematch against the Panthers, and we crush them 42-14. So we're averaging about 40 points a game in the preseason. The defense getting a little bit better week to week. Grant Crawford went off for 4 touchdowns and 263 yards, 19 for 24 on the day for him. Haskins just 3 for 4, 31 yards, but also threw for a touchdown. Darnold was pretty good. It's like everybody threw the ball well in this one, honestly. We shut down Christian McCaffrey again. We didn't run the ball like too well. How did we beat them that bad? When it seemed like they threw it well, we must have had some sacks. We'll get a look at that in a second. Claypool, good day. Juju, 3 touchdowns again? Holy crap, dude. Defensively, let's take a look at tackles here. The rookie Oscar Beal with 8 tackles. So sacks. Did we get a bunch of sacks or what happened here? No. Just 1 sack. So I'm not sure exactly how we ended up beating them that bad when they threw the ball pretty well, ran it okay. We didn't get sacks to stop drives. I don't know, but maybe penalties. Either way, doesn't matter. It's a preseason win. We go 3-0 in the preseason. We stay healthy from what I can tell, which is obviously a good thing. Actually, who's coming back from injury here? Quincy Shields. So he missed some time, but is going to be coming back. Now, we've got to cut 2 players, which is interesting because I don't really want to cut anyone. Who? Okay, so Doug Fisher, we'll just move him to the practice squad. He's only 61 overall. If he gets picked up, no big deal. And then same thing here. Our number 5 D tackle, 61 overall, 25 years old. We'll just let him go. So that's fine. Now we're ready to rock here in the 2025 regular season campaign. We got to get through these last couple of upgrades here. We have 28 staff points, which I don't think is enough to get us any of the upgrades that we want. With Benny Snell, I'm going to go with power because, like I said, eventually in the long run, as he gets older, I'm hoping that he can just turn into our power back instead of the elusive guy, and Richardson maybe steps up into that elusive / receiver role if he improves over the next several years. So let's go ahead, and we've got 1 more off week here in the preseason. That'll end this episode, and we will be ready to jump in with Game 1 of the 2025 campaign in the next episode. So, actually, I guess we're there. So we're here in week 1. We got through the bye week, apparently. I must have misinterpreted that. So we're going to set our season goal for the year. It's going to, it's either make the playoffs or make it to the Super Bowl. The problem is, it's not that big of a difference. You might as well just say make the playoffs, commit to it. We're probably going to do it. But if we somehow get beat in that first or second game of the playoffs, I don't want to get, criticized for it or lose the staff points altogether. So we'll just stick with that one. Now, the opening day matchup is against the Browns. So that's going to be interesting because they're, one of the best teams in the game. The key for us is going to be the offensive side of the football. It generally tends to be that that's the case. Now, they're going to ask us how we're going to do it. I think we're going to go with the air attack. Grant Crawford, I want this to be the year. Now, they want 350 yards, which is maybe a little bit aggressive, but we'll see if we can pull it off. Bottom line is I want this year the focus offensively to be, steadily moving more towards the aerial assault and getting away from being so run conscious or run heavy. These guys are not very good against the pass, or they are not very good passing the football, but they run it very well. Nick Chubb is going to be very tough to stop. We got to go to half pads here to try and stay fresh as the season unfolds. Offensively, blitz counter, I like it. We're probably not going to run the ball all that well against this defense, but I think we can throw it a little bit. That's going to be our objective. And then here we are going to go with, let's get 2 TD passes. Let's get a bunch of first downs. Let's get 275 through the air, and we are going to try and get some sacks. So, off to a good start so far this year. 3-0 in the preseason. We're healthy going into week 1. We've got a roster that I think is going to be really good this year. We're deep. We're still fairly young. This team is poised to continue to roll through these next several years and remain a threat to win the championship every single year. Chase Claypool gets another upgrade. He's very good. I mean, we've got a lot of weapons on offense. We've got really good defensive ends, some defensive tackles up the middle, one of the best middle linebackers in the game. We've got good corners. We've got one of the best free safeties in the game. We've got a really good, young, strong safety at this point. So things are going well. And both of the guys that we moved, actually, no, those are 2 different guys, so no big deal there. So we're ready to go. It's going to be week 1 against the Browns in the next episode. If you have not done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment below, and we will see y'all next time.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. Or shall I say this afternoon?